Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar on 15th of December announced the closure of Israeli embassy in Ireland. Why? Because Ireland has been raising its voice against the Israelis' genocidal campaign in Gaza and had joined Spain and Norway in recognizing the state of Palestine in the summer this year. In his statement, Sa'ar had said, and I quote, "Today I have instructed the closure of Israel's embassy in Ireland. The actions, double standards, and anti-Semitic rhetoric of the Irish government against Israel are rooted in efforts to delegitimize and demonize the Jewish state. The Irish government recognized the Palestinian state during attacks on Israel, a move praised by Hamas, attempted to redefine genocide in international law to support baseless claims against Israel at the ICJ, backed politically motivated cases at the ICC, promoted anti-Israel measures within the EU, and fostered hostility toward Israel. Notably, Ireland is one of the few European countries that has not adopted the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, and its government has failed to take effective measures to combat the surge of anti-Semitism within Ireland." End of quote. So for these genocidal maniacs, opposing genocide, giving recognition to stateless Palestinians, and asking the ICJ to hold war criminals to account constitute anti-Semitism. They have hidden behind anti-Semitism for far too long to justify their war crimes. And the Gaza crisis has truly exposed them. And more people around the world have woken up to the reality of this Israeli tactic. As expected, Irish PM Simon Harris reacted sharply and did not hesitate to call out Benjamin Netanyahu's barbarism.
You're all here today asking me about Ireland's position. What about Israel's actions? What about what Netanyahu is doing to the innocent children of Gaza? This is the diplomacy of distraction. And I think it is deeply regrettable that they took that decision. They have every right to take that decision to close the embassy. I'd rather it didn't happen. We will continue to engage diplomatically. But nobody's going to silence Ireland.
My only problem with Harris was he describing the development regrettable. Why? In my opinion, all right-minded nations around the world should have cancelled diplomatic ties with Israel a long time ago. So if Israel has decided to close its embassy, this should have been a cause for celebration. Irish President Michael D. Higgins, too, didn't hesitate and lashed out at Netanyahu.
I think it is a very serious business to actually brand a people because, in fact, they disagree with Prime Minister Netanyahu, who is in breach of so many bits of international law and who has breached the sovereignty of three of his neighbours in relation to Lebanon and Syria, and who would like, in fact, actually to have a settlement in Egypt. I think to suggest that because one criticises Prime Minister Netanyahu, that one is anti-Semitic, is such a gross defamation and slander. Well, I have to say that originally when I was accepted credentials, I put it down to lack of experience, but then I saw later that it was part of a pattern to damage Ireland.
Ireland has stood resolute with the Palestinian cause. Way back in April, Simon Harris had told his party delegates that he was repulsed by Netanyahu's actions in Gaza.
Prime Minister Netanyahu, let me say this to you this evening. The Irish people could not be clearer. We are repulsed by your actions. Ceasefire now and let the aid flow safely. This party has, and under my leadership will remain, a party that is unafraid to speak the truth to power about the humanitarian catastrophe we are witnessing in Gaza, and to voice in no uncertain terms the moral outrage of the Irish people. In Gaza, we are witnessing a humanitarian catastrophe, and we are seeing innocent children, women and men being starved and slaughtered.
So humanity will always be indebted to the action Ireland has taken over the last 15 months. But that's not the story. The real story is this. A US-based Palestinian museum has reportedly contacted the Irish government expressing their interest to convert the closed Israeli embassy in Dublin into their permanent headquarters in Europe. Faisal Shah, the director of the US-based Palestinian Museum, told the Art newspaper, and I quote, "We would be interested in making the former offices of the Israeli embassy in Dublin into our permanent European headquarters. We want to change what was the headquarters for a war zone into an art zone." End of quote. So if the Irish government indeed agrees to hand over the building to this Palestinian museum, this would be a fitting response to Israeli barbarism that continues to slaughter innocent Palestinian men, women, children, and babies every single day. More than 45,000 people, and this is a very conservative figure, have been brutally murdered by Israelis, while the real number of those killed could easily exceed 200,000. That's it from me. Thank you very much for your support of this platform and our journalism on buymeacoffee.com and Patreon. If you too think that our journalism is worth supporting, then you too seriously should consider becoming part of it. In the meantime, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.